Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome back to End Time Prophecies with me, your host Sheikh Fahim of the Islamic Lifestyle Solutions. On this program dedicated to the analysis of the signs of the end time. Being the first episode, it is incumbent that we give you a little bit of the build-up to the show in order for you to understand what's to come. If you have any queries, any criticisms, any concerns, you can forward that through to the email address you see below your screen, and we will endeavor, inshallah, to the best of our ability to assist you in either your understanding of that particular question. Although there are numerous people that have questions but do not have access to asking pertaining to the subject, we will, inshallah, welcome your queries, your concerns, or your criticisms. Nonetheless, before the break, we were discussing the narration recorded in Sahih Muslim, whereby the Prophet, peace be upon him, mentioned 10 signs. He ﷺ is reported to have said to his companions that you shall not see the final hour, the establishment of Qiyamah, until you see before it حتى ترون قبلها 10 آيات, 10 signs. فذكر الدخان, that great smoke, and we will discuss this inshallah. So فذكر الدخان والدجال, Dajjal, the false Messiah, or known better to the Judeo-Christian philosophy as the Antichrist. Wadabba, number 3, the beast of the land. وطلوع الشمس من مغربها, the Prophet, peace be upon him, prophesies the rising of the sun from the west. We will discuss this in view to the scientific theory as well when we get there. ونزول عيسى ابن مريم, and according to Islamic tradition, the return of Jesus, the son of Mary, Isa alayhi salam. Thereafter, the Prophet, peace be upon him, spoke about the emergence of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, known in the Bible as Gog and Magog, who will wage destruction upon the earth. Thereafter, he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, prophesied 3 sinkholes or landslides. خصف بالمشرق, one in the east, خصف بالمغرب, one in the west, وخصف عند جزيرة العرب, and one in the Arab Peninsula. And the last of those mentioned by the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, وآخر ذلك ذكر النار, a fire, تخرج من اليمن, which will emerge from the area of Yemen. تطرد الناس إلى محشرهم, which will bring the people to a place of gathering. Hence, these 10 signs, in no particular order, in no chronological order, are regarded as the 10 major signs. However, there are other major signs, like the destruction of the Kaaba, the abandonment of Hajj, the emergence of a man from the family of the Prophet, peace be upon him, known as Al-Mahdi. There are numerous signs. Have they come to pass? Are they on the verge of emergence? These are the questions we will be asking. But to put into perspective the necessity of the subject of studying the signs and the necessity of a program of this nature, we live in the most strangest of times ever experienced in human history. 97% of the world's population works to enrich 3% of the world. Let your mind wrap itself around that. The systems that have been put in place ensure that when you are engaged in work, you are part of a system dedicated for you to become a debt slave. How is it that you work so hard? No matter what it is you do, you need to buy a house, a system in place for you to be in debt for the rest of your life. You want to buy a vehicle, system in place to put you in debt. You never ever own these things. It has to just change hands and upgrade. Also, a few people can profit from your work. If that is not strange, then something is wrong with our mindset. The Qur'an and the Sunnah explains these things. The prophecies of Muhammad, peace be upon him, explains these things. We live in a time where there are people dying of starvation in one part of the world, and in another part of the world, we are throwing away good food. You go to a restaurant, fine dining, you order a meal, your eyes were bigger than your appetite, and there's a little piece there. What do? We just paid so much money. Oh, give it away, throw it away, whatever the case may be. Whereas when we look at Africa, we look at Syria, we look at Yemen, we look at Kashmir, we look at Myanmar, we look at where Muslims all over the world are oppressed, people in general all over the world are oppressed. They are drinking of water leaking from sewage pipes. Allahu Akbar. We live in a crazy time. We live in a time whereby NASA is investing billions and billions to find alien life forms, when we do not value human life. Imagine if those billions and billions of dollars was used to eradicate poverty, to free people of the shackles of debts. If we as human beings cannot understand how strange a time this is, then the enemy has won. The enemy being the foot soldiers of Dajjal and Gog and Magog, who are working tirelessly to destroy the religious consciousness of people across the world. We live in a time where human rights are promoted only when the life that is required to save is a life of bias approach. If a Muslim is killed, if a Muslim is oppressed, the world centers that are there to see to ensure that this doesn't occur, they turn a blind eye. But if it is a life that matters, then the whole world gets to know about it. The so-called hypocrisy of democracy is in evidence for those who see with two eyes. We live in a time where corruption is the currency of the day. It doesn't matter where you live. There used to be a time where a judge was considered honored and trustworthy. We look at the newspapers today, judges corrupted. Not all. We're not generalizing. How many people have spoken about corruption in the police departments as an example? Corruption in government. The people who have been placed in positions of authority to ensure your life pans out smoothly. Corruption. Has the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, prophesied the time of global corruption in every facet of life? Yes, he has. That's what we will aim to discuss, to study. We live in a time where God is no longer consulted in world affairs. 100 years ago, the governments of the world, not necessarily Muslim, if we take example, Christianity, every government of the time would consult its religious book, its religious people. Globalization and secularization has ensured that God is no longer consulted in world affairs. The separation of God from state, eventually into the education systems. Science is the new God of our time. Has the Prophet, peace be upon him, prophesied this? Yes, he has. But it's a matter of us taking the initiative to studying that which he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, prophesied. We live in a time of an immense increase in sexual promiscuity. The subject of haya, self-respect, is no longer there. There are places in the world where acts of sexual promiscuity is conducted in the light of day in the middle of the streets. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, made it very clear that this time would occur when men and women would engage in acts of this nature like donkeys on a street. We are living in that time. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had ensured through his prophecies that we would be well equipped with the relevant knowledge and understanding of how to eradicate these problems. We live in a world today that cannot escape riba. It cannot escape usury and interest. It is an inescapable fact. There is nothing that you can buy today of significance and avoid it. Did the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, prophesy such a time? Yes, he did. But 100 years ago, we would not have been able to say that these prophecies were fulfilled. But they are now. We live in a time where all the focus is on the self, so we take selfies, but no time and consideration for others around us. These are strange times. And in these strange times, it is my belief that the only means of understanding the modern age is to study the end time prophecies. And if we do so with enthusiasm, with the means of gaining some sort of knowledge that will benefit us, then we supplicate in the court of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us the opportunity and hidayah to do good. If anything good has been achieved, the praise belongs to Allah, the faults belong to me. Astaghfirullah Rabbi min kulli dhanbi wa atubu ilayh. We will see you inshallah in the next episode. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum.